Let's talk about 3 accessories that you need to consider for your podcast microphone. I made a video last week talking about the different types of microphones that we might be tempted by when we need to buy a podcast mic. And our definitive answer to that at the Podcast Studio Glasgow is go for a dynamic mic. So I'm using a dynamic mic today, but I've also got another dynamic mic here on the table next to me, which leads me into the 3 accessories that are worth considering. Now, the first accessory is quite a simple one, fairly inexpensive, and it's a foam windshield. They're typically accessories that you need to buy. Do you need one? The reason that you would have one of these is to reduce what are known as plosives. Plosives are, and I'm going to see if I can create it here. I don't have headphones on. They're sitting here, but I'm going to see if I can create it without putting the headphones on. Plosives are when the p and b sounds, when you speak, that little burst of air hits the capsule on the microphone, and it just creates that sort of horrible popping sound. So bring beer and pizza. I don't know whether this mic is capturing the plosive or not, but you know what I'm talking about, plosives. So to avoid plosives, there are 2 things that you can do. One of them is you can buy a foam mic windshield. The other is to just position your mic in such a way as your voice is going over the top of the microphone, and that's going to help you avoid the plosives. Correct mic positioning or mic windshield. Would I recommend a foam mic windshield? I think so. I think it's worthwhile having. They're not a lot of money. There's a company called Mic Windshields, micwindshields.com. They make customised ones that you can buy with like your logo on it. We've got a client at Podcast Studio Glasgow that has them for their podcast, and they do look really good. So yeah, I would recommend it. Unless you've mastered microphone technique, where to position the mic in front of your voice. If you just want to sit down and record and forget that the mic's there, then having a foam mic shield can help with that. The second accessory that's worth considering is, and you should be able to see it here, it's this sort of cage thing that the mic is enclosed in. Now again, the mics don't come with, some mics you can buy will come with it. This mic here is the Rode Procaster, and I'm going to attempt to get it out of the cage. A mic like the Rode Procaster comes like this out of the box. These are shock mounts for your mic, and most mics will either have one specifically made for it, or you can get aftermarket ones that are generic that will fit your mic. So why would you have a shock mount? Now, you probably heard it while I was rattling about with this. You maybe heard the vibration travelling through this mic arm and into the mic and being picked up. If not, you can probably hear that. What this shock mount will do is reduce the likelihood of bumps on the table. You putting a mug down, for example, typing on your keyboard while you record, being transferred into the mic and being picked up. A shock mount is a worthwhile addition. This is a Rode one specifically for that mic. We know that it's going to work well, and all of the mics in the studio that you use here at Podcast Studio Glasgow are fitted with shock mounts. Again, the idea is you come in, you sit down to record, you don't need to worry about being super sensitive about the mic. We tell our guests, our clients, that they can move the mic arm around. You just want to maintain a good distance, which I'll cover in another video, but you want to maintain a good distance between the mic and your mouth. But you can move the mic arm around without worrying about any sort of knocks or bumps being overly noticeable on your recording. And that takes me to the third accessory that you need to get for your podcast mic, and it's some sort of stand. So you can see here, this is a tabletop mic stand, really inexpensive. You can pick them up on Amazon for not a great deal of money. And you just basically screw either the holder that came with your mic into the top of the tabletop mic stand, or if you've got one of these shock mount, you screw the tabletop mic stand into the bottom of your shock mount, And there you go, you've got something to hold your microphone. Now, there are drawbacks to this. I think it's probably more likely to pick up knocks and bumps on the table. They're not too bad. The flexibility of where you can sit, where you and your guest can sit, might be a little bit constrained if you just have a desktop mic stand. There are other type of mic stands. So this is a boom arm type of mic stand. This is one from Elgato. It's the low rise, I think it's called. But basically it's designed for streamers so that they can mount this and have the mic arm coming out underneath their computer monitors. We like these ones in the studio. You'll have seen the ones that are big V-shaped ones that go up like this. Same sort of idea. It's a boom arm. It booms the mic in close to your mouth. We don't use them in the studio because we don't want these big V things in the shot. So we like to use the low profile ones. So all of the mics in the studio are attached to low profile mic arms. They're not as adjustable as the big V ones. The big V ones, they're sprung, so you can move them around and adjust the height, etc. fairly easily. These ones, it's a little bit fiddlier, but once it's set up, it's kind of set up. Which obviously, as I'm doing just now, you can move it around and you can adjust the height to get the mic exactly where you want it to be. But it's another consideration from a tabletop mic stand going to a boom arm. And as I say, we prefer the low profile ones because it keeps the boom arm out of the shot as much as possible. It's a much more subtler thing. Part of the reason that matters to us in the studio is we try and have all our cameras set up so that the camera lens is pretty much at eye level. We want people who are watching the podcast we produce to feel that they're sitting at the table or sitting in the set with the host and the participants. When you have your mic set up at eye level and you've got one of those big V boom arms, there's the risk that's going to encroach in the shot and obscure the face or faces of the people participating in the podcast. So there you go, just a couple of suggestions from the Podcast Studio Glasgow on the type of accessories you might want to get. The foam mic shield, shock mount, whether you want a tabletop mic stand or a boom arm. These are the other things that you need to consider when you're setting up to record your own podcast. If you want to know more what it's like to record with us at the Podcast Studio Glasgow, it's dead easy. Just go to podcaststudioglasgow.com.